Hello again and welcome back to Broforce Broview. Today we are taking a look at the Broniversal Soldier, based off of Luc Deveraux from the Universal Soldier franchise. Now, this Broview is a rework. Broniversal Soldier received a rework with the Broforce Forever update. So, we will be taking a look at this, examining how he functions currently while comparing this to his previous iteration. To begin this, I'm going to go ahead and start with something that hasn't actually changed. His melee attacks. Broniversal Soldier uses a series of kicks for his melee attacks. He has an axe kick while while running, and while gaining vertical while jumping. While falling and aiming in a direction, he will gain a flying kick, and while standing still or just going up and down in a vertical jump, he will do a split kick. Now, this is where everything changes. So, previously, Broniversal Soldier had a shotgun. The shotgun would shoot out a single large slug that did large damage at about a medium to long range. His current attack shoots out a burst fire. This burst fire does happen at a long range, giving him more range than his previous shotgun. However, he does lose out on damage. First, when I'd seen this, I was hoping that, they took his fire and chopped it into 3 bullets. Maybe that would only get about a third of the damage each, so his numbers wouldn't really change. But they seem to have gotten about a quarter of the total damage, so he does come out with a deficit. That being said, his attack speed doesn't actually seem to have changed. While it might appear while watching to have changed due to the multiple bullets in the air, if you take a look at the timer, you'll notice that he does keep his about 3 shots per second attack speed. So, now this might be where a lot of you are going to be really interested. His special attack, or special command, has been very drastically reworked. Previously, he had 5 little vials. When activated, he would gain an aura around himself and would raise up any dead enemies around him. He would also be able to, if done skillfully and properly, resurrect himself upon death. This is what made Broniversal Soldier one of the most powerful bros, especially for the Iron Bro challenge. Now, his new special, as you can see, has less ammunition, and while it does still have the circle effect, will instead actually cause him to start to sweat profusely and gain some energy. This is a buff effect very similar to vitamins or a couple of the other bro buffs. So let's go ahead and demonstrate that a bit. His running jump takes about half of my little display pit. His speed while running across the display pit, and his vertical jump. When buffed, he jumps higher, runs faster, and jumps further. But do note, it is only available for a couple of seconds, so it is a little bit trickier than some of the other buffs that have a much longer time frame. Also, while he is buffed, his attack speed is drastically increased. As we can see here, going from a burst to a full automatic, and he's so happy about it, he dances. I do think that the dance is more of a graphical glitch as opposed to a intended effect, as you can kind of replicate a similar thing by flexing and shooting it rapidly back and forth. And if you do it in the other way, instead of doing an arm dance, he kind of does more of a hip thrust. So that's fun. Not really useful for anything, but fun. So, as we move on, against mechs, obviously, the correct answer is to commandeer it and dump it off. Broniversal Soldier just really doesn't have the power to fight against a mech. So, as we look here at this mook door, and underneath the mech, for the digging and dropping, we have a very interesting change. So, Broniversal Soldier does shoot true. He will always shoot true, whether he's standing or crouching, and he has a long range. But his attack has gone down drastically. As you can see here, it takes 2 shots to take out dirt. I think it's about 5 bullets. You saw one of my bullets actually hit the block in front. And now 2 bullets hit the block in front of that one. So you can take out 3 blocks for the cost of 5 shots. And that's assuming it doesn't hit anything else like it just did that mech. Because of this, he has a very low dig speed, and that can be very dangerous around mook doors or similar other things where you need to dig out from under an enemy. That being said, his safety comes from his range, as you are able to attack from across the screen. As we move on to dogs, we'll see that he is fast enough to be able to take out multiple dogs, but do note that his rounds do hit dead bodies, and it does take multiple bullets for them to destroy the dead bodies. Because of this, you can end up hitting a corpse instead of a living enemy, so just keep aware of that. When fighting large dogs, you'll notice it takes multiple rounds to be able to take them out. Enough that that dog, if I hadn't jumped out of the way, could very easily have taken me. Your advantage really does come down to your range and your ability as a bro to maneuver. Against heavy enemies such as this bruiser, taking them by surprise and taking them from range is mandatory. Your attacks do not hit them fast enough to kill them before they can have a chance to react, especially if they are in a group. As we go down here to our pure evils, you'll notice that the pure evils will generally die 1 per burst. Occasionally, you'll notice that 2 pure evils are killed, but the reason 2 pure evils are occasionally killed during a burst is because sometimes a pure evil will survive your burst. Now, this is caused by them clumping up and the bullets hitting more than 1 person. It seems like it takes 3 bullets to kill a pure evil, which has about the health of a standard mook. So if they're stacking up, if your 3-round burst, 2 of them hit one guy and 1 hits the other, no one's going to die. Because of this, you do need to be careful in big groups, as you have no penetration. In fact, you kind of have anti-penetration, because your bullets can be body blocked. Now, for demonstrating the special, and this is probably where most of you want to see this, instead of activating it at the time of your death to self-resurrect, you instead now activate it early, and during the event of the power-up, you gain a resurrection field around you. Now, you'll notice that as soon as I take a bullet, I am no longer... Well, actually, I'm sweating now, but I no longer have that red energy. And that red energy is what allows you to revive yourself or others. So, because of this, you only get 1 self-resurrection, and you need to be a little careful how do you use it. But it allows you to have a little bit more user-friendly, because if you're stepping into a dangerous situation, you can preemptively activate it. But that does take away some of its use as an emergency oh fuck button. Anyway, continuing on to the other part of this ability, the ability to resurrect enemies, we can kind of come in through here and use the buff to take out a handful of enemies, and as you can see, we add them to our arsenal. As before, mooks are really slow, really dumb. better enemies, or better resurrections, such as, well, I don't think I destroyed the body. I guess I destroyed both bodies. But bigger enemies, such as brutes, large dogs, or other bros, are definitely the best choice here. As you can see, mooks have a bad tendency to kill themselves from, you know, small trips. One thing to note is the resurrection doesn't actually raise everybody at the same time anymore. As you can see, as you get close, people will resurrect one after another. And while it is rapid, it does take a couple of seconds for everyone to resurrect. Anyway, as we move on, as I've stated before, a single burst is generally enough. Let me go ahead and get rid of these guys. A single burst is generally enough to get rid of a single mook, though not always. Against shielding enemies, your rapid speed is actually very useful against their shields, knocking them to the side. Against standard mooks, as I've stated before, you do want to be careful because they can body block for each other. If there had been more than 4, it would have been very possible for the 5th one to actually have gotten a shot off. As you saw, the 4th one almost did. His melee attacks, you do need to be careful. The split kick is a very short range melee attack, but his kicks are deadly, and his throw is, well, just the standard bro throw. So, as we continue, digging. Digging is weird. First off, I will demonstrate while crouching that no matter how far away your bullets go to their maximum length, you will always shoot perfectly true. You never go up and you never go down. Because of this, here we'll go ahead and demonstrate that as well. Because your bullets will never go up or down, you only have horizontal digging. Now, do note that just because of how Broforce works, if you destroy a block, the block immediately above it will almost always also be destroyed, and will often chain react to possibly 2 or 3 other blocks being destroyed. So you do have a slight vertical option, but not a great one. Continuing on, his kicks are relatively good at digging, but are, I don't want to say ineffective, but are definitely a little weird to get used to, as his kicks have a slightly different hitbox concept as opposed to other bros. You know, his standing jump kick, or his axe kick, or his flying kick. They are all very different in their angle of attacks, making him a little weird for a melee digging. Another thing to note, while jumping, because your burst fire comes out at different rates, you can, with a little bit of practice, get to a point where you're able to put all 3 bullets into roughly the same block. But when you're dropping from a height, you can end up in situations where they are drastically different, making it harder to dig or potentially triggering an explosive that you didn't mean to trigger. So, as we can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 takes out 3 rounds. That being said, well, juiced up, you'll notice that his attack speed being higher does give him at least a decent dig speed. It doesn't really change the number of rounds needed to dig, but it does make it happen faster, giving him, I'm going to say, about a C in digging and a C+ while boosted. his attack range is nice, but his damage is low. I want to say that he's probably about an A- in combat. His biggest advantage being that he is able to attack from a long enough range that you might not get noticed. And you can kind of go around some of the other, or like some mooks' attack range. As for mobility, he does get an A in mobility due to his ability to juice. His special gets himself an A. Actually, I'm going to go with an S- for his special. The ability to resurrect is amazing, and the ability to self-resurrect is amazing. Though it is not nearly as... or is significantly more user-friendly, but not as pro-friendly. So it used to have a much higher skill ceiling that was much more rewarding, but the newer version is easier for the average person to use. So I'm going to say S- there. And, well, the ability to resurrect is an amazing ability in co-op. So while I do think he is a very poor digger and combatant, his special, having its uniqueness, his mobility, and his co-op potential, I think put him at about a low A-ranked bro. Alright, so, as you can see here, I've gone ahead and spawned in a bunch of dead bodies that have fallen. While there's only looks like a few, I will tell you, there are a lot of them stacked up. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to demonstrate his resurrection and its limits. So, as you activate it, as you see, you will resurrect a large number, rapidly, of mooks while he is standing there. Let's get rid of a couple of bodies now. As you can see, you do resurrect, well, enough to cause a massive lag spike, but you do resurrect a decent chunk of mooks here. And while they can stack up, as you can just kind of see from their blasts that there are plenty of them. Alright, so, and just to finish this off, I have a much smaller number, but a little bit of a variety. As you can see here, activating it, we do actually resurrect normal mooks at a much faster rate. So you'll see how rapidly they raise. On the other hand, as we come over here to large mooks, such as these thugs, you'll see that they actually raise at a much slower rate. So this seems to be kind of their balance. Allowing, instead of it costing more to raise larger mooks, it now seems to be that they raise at a slower rate. Anyway, I hope that this was useful and helped you learn how to use Broniversal Soldier with their new rework, and have fun!